I want to read something that just came out in USA Today. This is Leon Panetta. Leon Panetta says that he now believes the new Egyptian president, Mohamed Morsi, and the country's military chief are committed to democratic rule. He said that we have a very good relationship. And Panetta said that after talking to Morsi at the presidential palace, he believes that Morsi is his own man and not beholden to the Muslim Brotherhood. It is clear that Egypt, following a revolution, is committed to putting in place a democratic government. And I am confident, I think this is very interesting language, I am confident that democracy here will fully represent a number of political views. What's happening here?
Well, what we mean by democracy and what they mean by democracy are two different things. With a lot of this, it's almost ciphers. We're using the same words, but we don't mean the same concept. Here, to us, democracy is not, like the third grade has a election and they have a president and a vice president. When I went to Catholic school, the nun was still in charge, even though we had our election. It was very much not a democracy. But what the Muslim Brotherhood sees as the potential in Egypt is to impose Sharia law, which is always the goal, whether it's violent or nonviolent movement forward, to impose it by the procedures of democracy, which we have. It
was a democratic revolution in Iran.
Right.
I mean, that's democracy. They still go out and vote, but you're not getting you're getting exactly what the mullahs are telling you you're going to get.
Well, and some of us here are old enough to remember 1979, and the analysts and the State Department were saying exactly the same thing about Ayatollah Khomeini, that Bani Sadr and these other younger moderates are going to are going to moderate the regime. And within 18 months, Bani Sadr, the president of the Iranian Republic, was living in exile in France.
Okay, so go ahead.
The leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, a man named Yusuf Kawadari, their chief jurist, is a very smart person. He's been here before. His daughter just got her, PhD? Okay. The person who may well follow Kawadari was Patrick Poole's neighbor. He was the imam in Hilliard, Ohio, until he got kicked out for some extreme statements he made when he went back and visited his folks in Egypt. The current head
of Egypt... What was he saying in Egypt when he got back?
He was saying, destroy America, invoking the protocols of elders and sign. Yeah, he lived less than a mile from my house, yes.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I started writing about it, and the Columbus Dispatch attacked me as a racist and bigoted Islamophobe. Well, and here recently we see him turn up back in Egypt as one of the top religious advisors to Mohamed Morsi, the new president of Egypt.
And then Morsi graduated, got his PhD from USC and taught at
Northridge
in California. And then, of course, you have Safi, who was here. That's penetration. So they know that if they name a party Freedom and Justice, we're going to start waving the American flag and say, see, they think just like us.
Safi is this guy.
That's Safi.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. But the problem is, in the Muslim world, and especially the Muslim Brotherhood, freedom and justice means freedom from the laws of man, justice according to Sharia.
Right.
They will have all the democracy they want so long as Sharia is implemented. So the Coptic Christians will tell you right now they can't even get a visa to get out.
We have terrorists walking into the White House?
Literally.
Right?
Literally.
Yes.
We do. Does the president know that they're terrorists?
Well, in the case of this guy back in June, a simple Google search would have shown that.
So are they? Because this is what I mean. This is what I hear. People will say they're incompetent. I'm sorry, they're not that incompetent. We do have systems. Somebody at the Secret Service, whose job is to protect the president of the United States, would say, we just did a Google search. This isn't a good thing. Somebody would have known. So it's not incompetence. So again, does the president know what he's engaging here?
I think, Glenn, again, it goes back to we're using different words. He knows they're terrorists in the sense that we talk about using violence to obtain political ends, but he would call them
revolutionaries.
No, resistance. I think that's the usual term for Hamas is that it's a resistance movement. And what you're seeing more and more is that because these people go through the alchemy of this new democratic process, they come out the other end as a political movement. So, for example, Hezbollah has a part in wiping out, killing Hariri in Lebanon, right? That ends up in a democratic election in which they end up with major offices in the government. That's their democratic process. So now, when we try to...
If I may break this down just real quick, tell me if I'm wrong here. What you're just saying here is it's a KGB colonel taking off his uniform, putting on a suit, and becoming president of Russia.
Exactly, exactly right. And now...
Same guy.
But it's even harder for us to crack down on them now because now they have the legitimacy of sovereign governance. They're the democratic representatives of their country.
Okay.
Eldin, the guy that you're talking about, who walked right into our into the councils of political power in Washington, was a member of the Blind Sheikhs terrorist organization, the Islamic group. They knew that when they let him in, but his coalition was just part of the coalition that was elected to the parliament in Egypt. So now he's a politician.
Okay. Here's the thing. I think that if you guys want to, if you guys feel like I've said enough already, we can change the subject. But I just want to see if I have this right, and I'd love for your help explaining this. I think George Bush was part of this, and the Republicans are part of this because most of them are just dumb, and they just don't think this way. They don't think like enemies abroad. And I know a lot of people who say, I know somebody who's, in the royal family, or they've worked over in Saudi Arabia, and there's crazies, and then and so I think with Bush, it was he's been around and played the game so long, and he's played it with the relatively sane people over in the Middle East, and he just doesn't see that he doesn't see revolution. You put a tie and a jacket on, you can walk into somebody's office, and if you can talk a great Western game, you got it, because we can't talk a good Eastern game. And so we don't see the game they're playing because we don't even speak their language. They do ours, and they watch us, and they've studied us. Yes. Is that right?
What's so interesting about what you said is they not only speak our language, they've made a commitment to never be accused of something that they could be called conspirators. For example, they know there's something called the Cairo Declaration on Human Rights in Islam, and it was ratified by the OIC, meaning all the Islamic states, but served the United Nations in 1993 as a legal instrument, where they officially said to the whole world that when we, the Muslim world, use the word human rights, we mean Sharia law and nothing else. So that they can come to a table and talk to our Western counterparts who never read what you can't connect the dots on. Okay, they never read anything, and they're negotiating with Egypt, maybe, this is a made-up scenario, human rights in Sudan. Well, we're saying human rights, go protect those people. But on the other side of the table, they're saying human rights, implement Sharia law. So the point is they know our language enough to give languages that sound good to us, but have completely ulterior meanings.
Now,